In the last episode of our Turbo X Trail, we made 565 horsepower with a little bit of nitrous. And that was meant to be it. And you idiots watched the video and actually helped us get on the algorithm. And we made so much money from the last video, we've decided to do one more.
The old turbo is a G3770 and the new turbo is a G35 1050. The wheels on the G35 are way bigger, so we should be able to make 600 to 700 horsepower.
All right boys, so first thing we're going to do is rip the head off it and we'll see what damage is done inside the engine. Now in case any of you guys are new here, this engine is completely stock. The only thing we've added is a set of Chinese rods. After our big boost run with the mystery nitrous shot, we've stretched the $50 head bolts, so we need to pull it off and see what's wrong. As we pull the head off, initially everything's looking pretty good, but there's a clear indicator on cylinder 4 that we've blown the head gasket, and we've also melted the block and the underside of the cylinder head as well. So we can see we've done some damage to the underside of the head and the block, so we're going to try and weld it up and get it machined and see if she holds together. I was planning just to get the TIG out and just start laying beads, but I had to clean off some of the corrosion and get it as clean as possible. Although the block is clearly aluminium, you can see the rust on the steel bore. I had to be careful not to weld them together. This thing here is called a block guard. It's meant to stop the cylinders from moving around and it hasn't really done a good job. We need to lift it back up and somehow secure it into place. We got the parts back from the machine shop and they've turned out absolutely perfect. I've got high hopes now that the cylinder head's going to seal properly. Just before we were about to put it back together, we could see that the rods had been hitting the side of the block, so we need to clearance that a little bit and then we're going to be good to go. My first task with the engine assembly was to figure out where these things go. Most of you probably have no idea what a QR25 engine is. It's basically a race version of the SR20. I mean, look at the size of this girdle. This crank isn't going anywhere. It also has about 20 bolts that go on the bottom, which means it must be sick. Now I've tried using one of those piston ring compressors, but I just don't have the hand-eye coordination. So I went back to the screwdriver and it seems to work pretty nice. Our bottom end was finally together and we picked ourselves up a Cometic head gasket. It should be a bit better than the $50 eBay special we were using last time. The last thing now, we've got to lap the valves in a little bit and then we can put the cylinder head back together. We were really unsure how much power this engine's actually going to make. Then we realised the valve springs were still stock, so we put a set of BC springs in there. Another reason this is way better than an SR20, it comes factory with shimless buckets. We knew we were going to go to all this effort to try and make over 600 horsepower and the stock head bolts weren't going to work. So we picked ourselves up a set of head studs, and this should help keep the head down. Being a 12mm head stud, the instructions said we could pull it down to 90 foot-pounds. I think it was starting to pull the thread out of the block at 85, so we stopped there. With the engine back together, it was now time to put it in the car. We had a look at the flywheel and there were some rust marks on there, so we decided to give it a quick machine. The sandpaper wasn't working too well, so we decided to get it on the wire wheel just to clean it up a little bit. The original flywheel bolts don't seem to be going in very nice, so we just held the rattle gun down and they eventually went in. We got the gearbox back on the engine and then got the engine back in the car. Nick's just putting in the engine mounts, and then we need to have a look at the wiring. If you have the budget, we can do you a wiring loom exactly what you see here. We haven't labelled anything, so Nick's having a hard time figuring out where everything goes and where it all plugs into. With that out of the way, it's time to test fit our G35 1050. It's a direct bolt-on. The only difference is it has much larger wheels and the intake pipe is a 2.5 inch instead of a 2. We went to fit the starter motor. Turns out we must have thrown it out because I can't find it. So we got online and ordered one. 2 weeks later it turned up. I go to bolt it in and the bolt pattern's wrong. Turns out I got the wrong one. So we measured the bolt holes, ordered the right one. Another 2 weeks later, another starter motor turns up and we were finally good to go. In the last episode, we actually broke the rear diff with about 300 horsepower. Out of curiosity, we pulled it apart to see what was wrong. And there's a little shaft that joins this to that. We had 300 horsepower going through this little thing. We ended up tracking down another diff. I called a few wreckers down south and it was actually quite hard to find. But I got onto Next Gen Auto Parts, which was previously known as Costless Auto Parts. Told them the year model, what we needed. They pretty much have a hotline where it goes on an Australia-wide database, and within 20 minutes they rang me back with a few different options and we got that sent straight to our door. So if you need any replacement parts for your car, get on to Next Gen Auto Parts and tell the boys what you need, they'll sort you out. It's time to put the fuel system back together. The first time we ran this, the fuel kept sloshing to the back of the tank, so I had to weld up this surge tank and that sorted out all those issues. So we have a pipe that goes down to the surge tank, then we've got a dash 8 fuel line that goes over here to one fuel pump. Problem is we want to make like 600 or 700 horsepower, so we've got to put this Y block in and add a second fuel pump. This work of art goes in between the intake manifold and the cylinder head. The fuel fittings that are on there aren't big enough, so we need to put some larger ones on so we can flow some extra fuel. If you think your drill bit's blunt, you just need to push really hard and get the drill going flat out, and when you see enough smoke, it means the drill bit's sharp again. Yes, you're looking at a plastic intake manifold. I have no idea how this is holding onto 30 pounds of boost, but it hasn't exploded just yet. One of the X Trail's features is it actually runs an electric throttle body, so we don't have to worry about a throttle cable. The only thing wrong with using AN fittings is they scratch really easily, so I'm going to show you a way how to avoid that. We went on eBay and picked ourselves up another 044 fuel pump for about $50. I bought some fittings online and it was meant to be pretty straightforward, but for some reason this is too long. So we had to cut a little bit off so we could get it to fit properly. We spent hours trying to figure out how to mount the second fuel pump. We put this elbow on and it didn't look very good. So we spun it around and faced it the other way, and that didn't look very good either. We ended up getting rid of the elbow and we found this old fuel pump mount, and we decided to mount the new fuel pump right next to the old one. Another Dash 8 hose and a couple of fittings, and the fuel system was finally done.
So we tried to start it, the car wouldn't start. We've realised the injectors are all stuck open, probably because we left them sitting out in the rain. So we're going to pull them back out, clean them, see if we can fix them and put them back in. We thought we'd have it completely out and just try and start it and see if we can see the injectors pulsing. So we can see only one injector is actually opening. So we're going to go get a set cleaned properly and put them back in, and we'll do this test again. They've been cleaned and flow tested, so we're going to test them again and see if we can get a spray on all four.
We didn't know how to wire up a relay, and we didn't want to leave the second fuel pump on all the time. So we added a couple of terminals and an alligator clip, and we can just turn it on when we want it on.
Oh, the threads don't feel too good, eh?
It was ready for the dyno, and Nick installed a new CAN keypad.
You're remembering what switch does what, because you best believe
I'm not labelling any of it.
This was the previous best run on 30 psi with no nitrous. We hadn't even started yet and the engine already had so much blow-by, so we added this hose where we could vent the blow-by gases away from the engine. With a few clicks from the boost tee, we made 429 on around 20 psi. We already forgot to hook up our second fuel pump, so we clipped that on and turned the boost up a bit more, along with some extra RPM.
So we just finished a run on 25 pounds, made 470 horsepower. We were expecting it to make more than that, so we're just going to quickly slap on an intercooler and see if it does anything, because we have no idea if it's going to make a difference.
Oh, we need a different silicon joiner. Currently our intake air temperatures are over 120 degrees Celsius, so surely putting on an intercooler is going to bring the temps down and increase our power a little bit. And even after that, and bringing our air temperatures down, we only picked up 7 horsepower. Given now that our air temperatures are good, we weren't scared anymore. So it was time to turn the boost up and let's make some power. This run was on around 30 psi, and you can see right at the end of the run, the left guard has a hose there. That's the overflow, and we had a bit of water coming out. So even on 30 psi, our air temperatures are good. We only made 537 horsepower. Gonna crank it over and we'll see if it's lifted the head again.
Do we have any of that new one?
We pressure tested the radiator. Sure enough, water's going into cylinder 2. We still want to take this for a rip down the beach. We're not sponsored by these guys, but we've used this and it does work. We're going to put some Nulon head gasket fix in there and see if it sorts it out.
Alright, it's been idling for a little while now. Everything sounds pretty good. We're going to pull cylinders through spark plug out, and if there's no water in there, we should be good. We should be good. Oh, there's no water in there?
Oh, it's hard to see on the camera. You got to see like in the bore.
Yeah, there's no water in there. All right, we have to make a serious decision here. There's no water in there, which is good. We want to take it for a bash. Do we leave it and hope for the best? Or do we drain all the water out and fill it up with concrete?
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So we went and picked ourselves up a $10 bag of concrete from Bunnings, and we weren't quite sure on the mixing ratio, so we just started adding water until it looked thin enough that it could flow through a funnel and into the internal parts of an engine.
Oh, what's that? Where's that go to?
The first batch of concrete went in really easy. On the second batch, we had concrete coming out of areas of the cooling system, and we had to keep blocking things off to stop it leaking. Alright boys, the conch isn't going down anymore, so we've hooked up a vacuum cleaner to the bottom hose. We're going to turn her on. Ready?
Oh, yes! Oh! Yes! Stop. I can feel it coming up. That come up quick.
We made our fourth mix of concrete, which was about 10 litres all up, and the engine wasn't taking anymore. So we had to water it right down, and in the end we just gave up and just had to leave it as it was. I cannot wait to send Peter back to Kmart to get warranty on this. With all that out of the way, it was finally ready for some testing. Our biggest concern with this right now was not breaking the engine. It wasn't the concrete, it was breaking the rear diff. So we wanted to take it easy on our first run.